Okay, now that I know what x is, I'm going to go ahead and find out my other variables. So I've already combined b and c, and so now I'm going to combine two other ones. I'm going to combine a and b, but when I combine them this time, I'm going to actually plug in x, and so I'm going to get 2 times 4 plus y minus 2z equals 14, and then b is 3 times 4 minus y plus z equals 9. And if you notice, I have a positive y and a negative y, so I can cross those off. And now I need to do this. This is 8. This is 12. So combining those gives me 20 plus a negative 1z equals 23. If I minus 20 on both sides, I get negative 1z is 3. So z is negative 3. Now what I can do is I can plug those two numbers, my x and y value, into any three of these equations to find my last answer for y. So I'm just going to use equation C because it doesn't have any coefficients, so that's a little nice. So my x is 4. I don't know my y. My z is minus negative 3 equals 7. So this becomes a plus. So I end up with y plus 7 is 7, so y equals 0. So this is another one that was a little nicer. And when I say a little nicer, you'll see what I mean when I get to the harder ones. Okay, so let's look at this. It says number 4. I'm not sure where number 3 went. Let me go back and get number 3. Okay, so I found number 3. So what we need to do is, again, it's very helpful if you label them A, B, and C. And so I'm going to go ahead and start off by combining A and B, okay? And so I'm going to rewrite them. I'm going to write what A is. Oh, that looks ugly. Equals negative 15, and I'm going to write what my B is. And if you notice what happens, I have a positive y and a negative y, so I can cross them off. So now I have 6x minus 2z equals negative 22. Now, if you notice here, I've crossed off my y's. So whatever I do here, I must cross off y's. So I need to pick another combination that I'm going to use to cross off the y's. And so this time I'm going to do A and C. So I write my A. And I write my C. Oops. And so there's my A and my C. And so now look, my y's will cross off here. And so 2x and 1x is 3x minus 5z equals negative 31. Now I have two equations that have only an x and a z, so I'm going to put these together by using elimination. Now remember, we have to have variables the same, so I'm going to make my first variables the same. And so the number that I get for 3 and 6 is 6. And so I'm going to make this one down here a negative 6. And so when I bring it over, I'm going to multiply everything by negative 2. So I get negative 6x plus 10z equals positive 62 because I'm multiplied by a negative. Now my x's are gone, and I get 8z is 40, and so z is 5. And so when you do this first type of problem where you have to combine two, the first answer is the hardest. Now, once I find the first answer, I'm going to plug it into one of these two, because then I only have to solve for x. If I chose to plug it into one of the three up there, then I'd still have to solve for x and y. But down here, I've already made problems easier. So I'm going to do this equation here. And yes, there's a lot of arrows, but hopefully you'll see what we're doing. And you might have to watch this twice to really understand. So instead of z, I'm going to put a 5. And so I get 6x minus 10 is negative 22. I add 10 to both sides and I get negative 12. And when I divide, I get negative 2. Now that I've had two variables, this is when I can choose any one of these three to plug in. So I'm going to choose A, and so A is 2 times x, which is negative 2, plus y, I don't know what y is, minus 3 times z, which is 5, equals negative 15. So that's negative 4 plus y minus 15 equals negative 15. A negative 4 and a negative 15 make a negative 19. And then if I add 19 to both sides, I get 4. So there's definitely a lot of work for these problems. Okay? But again, your first goal is to combine two to cross something off, and then do that again with two other ones to cross something else off. All right, let's look at number 4. Now, number 4, we started in class and everybody kind of did it different, so you might get a little confused, but in the end, you should get your right answer if you do your process right. Okay, so let's label these A, B, and C. And so I'm going to start off by putting A and B together. So I'm going to write my A. I'm going to write my B. And if you notice, nothing's easy. I can't cross anything off, so I have to get something the same. I want to get rid of my y's. I'm going to get rid of these. And so I need to have something that goes into both. So I'm going to have a negative 2y and a positive 2y. So that means the top one, I have to multiply by 2. It's already negative, so I just have to multiply by 2. So I multiply everything by 2. The bottom one, I already had a positive 2y, so I don't have to do anything. So now I'm going to cross these off, and I get 7x plus 5z is equal to negative 25. And now I'm going to do that again with another equation, and this time I'll kind of run out of space, so I'm going to do B and C. So B is x plus 2y plus z equals negative 3. And the next one is 2x minus 3y plus 3z is negative 4. Again, because I chose y's in the first problem, I have to get rid of y's here. And so I need to get them the same. I should have changed color, so I'm going to change now. And so I'm going to make them a 6y and a negative 6y. So the top one, I have to multiply everything by 3. So I'm going to get 3x plus 6y plus 3z equals negative 9. And on the bottom one, I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So I'm going to get 4x minus 6y plus 6z equals negative 8. And now these are gone, and so I have 7x plus 9z is equal to negative 17. Now, if you notice, this top one and this bottom one have both a 7x, so change colors one more time. And so now I'm going to do 7x plus 5z equals negative 25. And this one here, I want this one to be negative, so I'm going to multiply this one by negative 1. So negative 7x minus 9z equals positive 17. X's are gone, so I get negative 4z is equal to negative 8, and so z is 2. So that's a lot of work to get to one problem, I know. And so that's the third answer. And so now remember, when you plug it into third answer, you want to use one of these two because those are already easier. You would have less to do. So I'm going to plug it into this one right here. So 7x plus 5 times 2 equals negative 25. So 7x plus 10 equals negative 25. I minus 10 on both sides, so I get 7x is negative 35. So x is negative 5. And now that I have two answers, I can go ahead and plug it into any of these three. And so I'm going just to choose A. And so it's 3 times negative 5 minus y plus 2 times 2 equals negative 11. So negative 15 minus y plus 4. Well, that's negative y minus 11 equals negative 11. So negative y equals 0. So y is just 0. So these are definitely tricky, but they're things that you could do, especially if you practice. Okay, remember your first step is to combine two equations to eliminate one variable, then do that process again with two different equations to eliminate the same variable.